There is no chance that I watch a WNBA show. The WNBA is subsidized by the NBA. If the NBA separated itself and the WNBA had to go at it alone, it would die a very quick death. Not a slow, painful death, but a boom, chop it off at the head kind of death. It is a list of crap. It really is. This isn't sexist. This is performance-based. How do you think this is going to go? According to Front Office Sports, ESPN's vice president for production for the NBA and the WNBA has hinted that a daily WNBA show will be coming soon. Yay! Yay, Rob. But if ESPN decides to hire a bunch of women who spew racist and division rhetoric, will this show tank just like Jemele Hill's SC6 once did? My answer is absolutely. Look, this show has no chance. None. I hope it does. I got no problem. Hey, the more the merrier. I don't watch shows on ESPN. I watch games on ESPN. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I haven't watched a single ESPN show other than bits and snippets of ESPN bets when I don't have anything else to bet on. I have not watched First Take. I have not watched Mike and Mike. I got a TV right here, a big one. I don't even turn it on in the morning for a variety of reasons. I don't even know why. I just don't. There is no chance that I watch a WNBA show, but there's also no chance that I watch First Take. There's also no chance that I watch Kornheiser even. Shows that are on in the afternoon, I don't watch. NFL Live, College Football Live, when they had a baseball show, I just don't watch. I don't. But maybe I'm in the minority. You may. Let's continue. Hillary Guy plans to expand the regular WNBA Today segment within the hour-long NBA Market Today show at 3 o'clock. It's an NBA hour-long show, NBA Today. And a new show could branch off of that, I will say, from an NBA Today perspective, which I also oversee. We have WNBA Today segment that we do all the time, and I only see that growing within the show itself. Really? If that became a show like The League that had to live on its own, think about it. The WNBA is subsidized by the NBA. If the NBA separated itself and the WNBA had to go at it alone, it would die a very quick death. Not a slow, painful death, but a boom, chop it off at the head kind of death. Through no fault of the women that play in the WNBA, we just don't really enjoy women's basketball outside of Caitlin Clark. Now, interesting, yesterday, one of the bigger ovations was when the Fever, of course led by Caitlin Clark, came on the court and threw T-shirts into the crowd. It was a very mid-major college thing to do, but I dug it because with all NBA games, the action continued. It's kind of like this show. You never know where it's going to zig, where it's going to zag. And that's what they did last night, the Pacer game. So at least in our town, at least with Caitlin Clark, or at least when Caitlin Clark comes to a town near you, there is interest. But let's remember, ratings tanked after Caitlin Clark left in college basketball. Ratings are no good, other than when Caitlin Clark plays in the WNBA. But let's look at some of the WNBA ESPN hosts, and it is a list of crap. It really is. This isn't sexist. This is performance-based. Jimmy, whatever the hell her name is, awful. Sarah Spain, the worst. Candace Parker doesn't know the name of the teams. Elle Duncan and Andrea Carter. Andrea Carter thinks she's something. Like, I talk to people that know Andrea Carter. She refers to Jimmy Patero, the boss, as, hey, I'll just call Jimmy. Says she got hurt playing. She's an annoying person. Now, people can say this is sexist. You can say this is racist. You can say whatever you want, but that's not true. It is simply performance-based. When I see any of these women on my television, I do not stop my television and say, hey, I want to see what they have to say about anything. I watch the NCAA tournament, and I see Candace Parker on it. She literally didn't know the name of the teams. She literally was on there because she's Candace Parker, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it means something. She's a woman that cheated on her husband with a girl, so now she is one of the cool kids. We all understand this, right? We all get that you are one of the cool kids if you wave the LGBTBABCD flag. You're one of the cool guys. But I don't think any of these are worth a damn. I judge broadcasters by if they're on the air, do I stop and listen because I'm going to hear something? Like if Mike Tirico, my former partner, is doing a game, I stop. Frankly, I stop because I know it's a big game. If Chris Collingsworth is on, I listen. I do. Charles Davis, I really like because he has things to say. I talk about Fran and I talk about Seth all the time in college basketball. I'm going to listen to them before I listen to any of the adults on the Big Ten Network or even our station Fox. Who's going to tell me anything? Kevin Harlan's on, I listen. Reggie Miller's on with Kevin Harlan. I enjoy the broadcast. It isn't a male-female thing. It isn't a black-white thing. It's a let's treat everybody the same and talk about what we enjoy. I was listening the other day to my wife, and this is so biased. But Tucker Barnhart, Golden Glove winning catcher of the Cincinnati Reds, told me, your wife's the best college softball announcer I've ever heard. And so I started listening to her the other day, and she is. She tells you stuff. She told me something like Steve Stone used to do when he was with the Cubs. If she throws a rise ball here, she's going to strike her out. Girl threw a rise ball, swing, miss, struck her out. That's the stuff that I like. These women that we have named right here are on for two reasons. One, in some cases, certainly, good player. Really good player. Great player for women's basketball, Candace Parker. Chimmy, good player. The other three are on because they simply, well, they fit the mold. DEI. Hell, one of them sold her boobs in a trip on the internet. Sarah Spain. The world is crazy. The world is crazy how the world goes. But it is our world. SportsCenter 6 focused less on news, stats, highlights, and sports talk. The exact formula that grew the brand. You know, it's like Bud Light saying we're going away from frat boys. Hey, we're having SportsCenter 6, but we're going to focus less on news, statistics, highlights, and sports. Whoa, wait, you're telling me that failed because why? Because it went against the brand of ESPN SportsCenter. And these shows is news, sports, highlights, stats, predictions, forecasting. That's what grew the brand into the monocultural juggernaut. With Hill and Smith, SportsCenter 6 prioritized social issues, black history, hip-hop, and banter between the co-hosts. That's not what SportsCenter was brought up, and you can blame black, white, green, or purple. But when people turn on SportsCenter, I don't need those two little guys jumping around. What's this one guy's name? Scott. I don't know who the other is in the morning, jumping around. They're not entertainers. Hell, read the frickin' prompter and let's go. So you can believe that SportsCenter failed, losing as much as 20% of the normal audience because of race, sex, whatever. But the truth is, like Bud Light, you went away from what brung you. Don't go away from what brung you. Enhance what brung you. Add more of what normally interests you. Hill embroiled the show in controversy by calling then President Donald Trump a white supremacist. What are you doing? It ain't racism that failed this show, and urged NFL sponsors to boycott the product after the Dallas Cowboys decided not to kneel during the anthem. ESPN removed Hill less than a year later, canceling the show. The network returned to a traditional SportsCenter format with Sage Steele 2 months later. Ratings increased by double digits upon the exodus. Well, here we go. The converse of this is Caitlin Clark. Game 1 of the WNBA playoff series between the Liberty and the Aces, a rematch of the finals, only managed half as many viewers as Caitlin Clark's first playoff game. You got to sell the goods, people. You don't deviate from what brung you. Dance with who brung you. Love the one you're with. It's a good song. After Clark drew an WNBA record 1.84 million viewers to her first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun September 22nd, while competing with an NFL Sunday, she followed up with another record audience of 2.54 million viewers for Game 2, the first game between the Aces and Liberty, a rematch of last year's WNBA Finals, drew an audience of less than a million, 50% less than the Fever's Game 1. It is very simple. I'm all for it. I'm all for NBA today. I'm all for WNBA today. I'm all for NFL today. Hell, College Football Live, great. Have all those shows. But don't Bud Light it. Don't try to move your politics into our world. I mean, you can. I don't care what you do. I'm not watching anyway. But the truth of the matter is, if you do, we've seen what happens. We saw what happened to Bud Light. We've seen what happened to Target. We've seen what happened to Sports Center 6. It's bad business. Just do what you do and do it well. And in the case of this show, we just do everything well because that's how we roll. It's always the same people. Now, I go back. I've said this before. Look up a guy named Steve Howe, Howe. Steve Howe, terrific reliever for the Los Angeles Dodgers, late 70s. Steve Howe kept getting arrested. Not arrested, I misspoke. Well, he ended up getting arrested, but he kept getting suspended from Major League Baseball. And I was like 16 or 17 or maybe even younger when this started. I'm like, how's this guy not kicked out of the league? Why is it always the same people? Well, Steve Howe led me to pay attention. It's always the same people. And now it's always the same people, and it's always a diva wide receiver named Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has allegedly been violent, abusive, and threatening in a recent court filing by his wife, Lakita, who files an emergency petition against him in family court one day after Tyreek Hill's mother-in-law called the police to the family's residence claiming abuse. And yet, neither the league nor the Dolphins seem fazed by this stain. It's always the same people who got arrested or pulled over and handcuffed and thrown on the ground in the preseason or the first game of the year this year because he was going a million miles an hour. Tyreek Hill. It's always the same people. How many times has Pac-Man Jones got arrested? Like, you wouldn't even know Pac-Man Jones anymore that played in the NFL if you didn't get arrested all the time. It's amazing. The people who stood up and demanded the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butler, for example, be expunged from the league last year for delivering a commencement speech that, in part, encouraged women to be housewives, are saying nothing, zero, about Hill's conduct towards his housewife. We're going to talk to Armando about this. It's astounding to me. When you make this comparison, let's throw in Rashid Rice. Rashid Rice crashed into a bunch of people, arrogantly walked off with his boys, and didn't do nothing. People went to the hospital, civil suits incurred. I don't know what's going to happen. How do folks get away with this kind of stuff legally? I asked the same thing about Shannon Sharp's girlfriend. Like, I read the report. He's choking her. She's screaming. He rapes her. She's screaming. Allegedly. It's all alleged, but it's all in a police report. How are the police not called? How are the police not involved in this? The same people who eviscerated Buckner for possibly putting gay people in danger for saying Pride Month is a deadly sin. The list includes diversity officer Jonathan Bean, who released a statement on behalf of the league. They're silent now about the dangers, about the danger Vaccaro Hill says she and her baby are in while Hill comes and goes from their marital home. It's true. Like, the easiest thing in the world to do is go after a conservative male. Throw my name, some idiot yesterday that I kicked off of West Virginia. Yo, Dakich, you're racist. You're a bitch to me, blah, 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 blah. Throw my name in there, and you'll get 100,000 views. I get it. Throw a conservative white male football player in there, and you'll get 100,000 views, and you'll have the head of diversity cracking on him. Why? Because he gave a Catholic speech at a Catholic school or a Christian speech at a Christian school espousing Christian values. Guy beats his wife, gets thrown out of the house. Court documents are filed. There's all kind of abuse alleged. I don't hear anything from this guy, Jonathan Bean. Jonathan, grow some beans. Say something. Where you at? Where you at, as we say in Northwest Indiana. Bean, by the way, made the point, Butker's stances do not represent those of the NFL. His views are not those of the NFL as an organization, right? The league vice president said. So, by staying silent, throwing this in, is Bean condoning? Is he condoning what Hill does? I mean, why so quick to say about Butker, no, they don't represent us. Christian values do not represent the NFL. Well, by not saying it, you're saying that, well, abusive values do represent the NFL. I can close my eyes and understand what Bean is. Bean is one of those guys that rides the wave, man. He rides the wave. Easy, man. White dude, NFL, you gotta cater to your community. We all get it. We all get it. Everybody gets it. OutKick reached out to a league spokesman requesting to know if Hill is subject to the league's personal conduct policy and, of course, received no response. Rashid Rice wasn't. Now, it's not over. Armando's going to join us. We'll talk to him. But it is ridiculous. See, nobody except for maybe us at OutKick treats everybody the same. I don't care if you're black, white, green, or purple. Don't tell me one guy's values. You get so riled up. This guy Bean got so riled up to talk about Butker. Oh, we can't have Christian values. They do not represent us. Well, does choking or abusing your girlfriend represent it? I mean, if you're going to speak out on one, you might as well speak out on all of them. And if you're going to be a tough guy on the kicker, you might as well be a tough guy on the little, quote, superstar. Why not? Why not, Bean? Where you at? Where you at, Beanster? Grow a pair, Beanster. Get outside of who you think you should be and start treating everybody the same. Be like us here at OutKick. Black, white, green, purple, we don't care. We call it like it is. We respect people enough to treat them the same. That's what we do. Period. Why don't you? That's weird. It's very, very odd to me. Apparently, Nico Harrison has a public relations professional on retainer. Charles Barkley thinks that public relations group should be fired. And he ain't wrong. As a friend of the program gives his advice to the Mavericks GM, saying, among other things, keep your mouth shut and take the L. Here's Charles.
Is that my camera right there?
Okay, uh-oh.
Listen, man, I consider you a friend of mine, Nico Harrison. I consider you a friend of mine. I wish you nothing but the best. I thought you did a good job last year with the Mavs, and obviously whatever happened this year didn't work out. Man, don't do no more press conferences. Like, I don't even know what you're doing. I really don't. Like, I got sympathy and love for you, but I have zero idea what you're trying to do. This war is over, brother. You got to taking the L. I hope you keep your job. I hope that team get healthy, but man, don't do any more interviews. Please don't.
That's pretty good. Here's part of the problem. Nico Harrison didn't realize Luka was that popular with fans. Here's from the man himself.
The anger and outrage from the fan base, has that exceeded what you were kind of planning for?
Yeah, good question. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.
Yeah, you kind of got to know, man. Like, we said this yesterday, the NBA is a star-driven league. I mean, think about all the commercials. Michael Jordan on a ladder with Spike Lee. I mean, come on. I mean, the McDonald's horse commercial with Larry Bird. Come on. I mean, let's be serious here. If you don't know, then you're in your own bubble. I talked about this yesterday. Dude's in his own bubble. He didn't get to the outside world. And I don't blame him. That's what you got to do to run a franchise. That's what you got to do to run a team. You got to stay in your own bubble, but you also got to have a broader view, particularly when you're the general manager. You got to have a broader view of the team, and don't be that honest. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just don't be honest. Stick with the rhetoric. Stick with the nonsense of defense wins championships, and let's move it along. Let's do that. Let's move it along. So here's what Nico Harrison got in return. At this point, I'm fully convinced he's a fall guy. No one can be this oblivious to reality. Yeah, you can. You really can. I mean, you get in your own little bubble. You do your thing. Yeah, you really can. Honest to God. I don't know how important cheese was to nachos. I didn't know how important cheese was to nachos. Well, let's be honest. I got nachos upstairs. I personally like the scoops. And I like salsa. I ain't mad at pimento cheese. Yeah, that's cheese. It's pretty good, though. I'm convinced the owners made him do it then because there's no chance he believes this shit. See, that's an ongoing debate. I've said, man, maybe, just maybe, Nico is the Roger Goodell of the Dallas Mavericks. Roger Goodell isn't paid to set policy. Roger Goodell is paid to be a shield for the owners of the NFL, and he's paid handsomely to do it. I kind of get the impression that maybe this wasn't Nico's idea. Now, Stephen A. Smith and others are going to tell you differently. But honest to God, you can't be this stupid. I don't know how important oxygen in the air was to breathing. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Oxygen apparently is important in the air if we're going to breathe. Fair enough. Oh, I didn't know. People are pretty clever. But now Stephen A. Smith says Nico did want to trade away Luka Doncic. It's all very confusing.
Over the last week, I've received several phone calls where I've been told Nico made that trade. He went to management and said, this is what I want to do. It wasn't management coming to him saying, we don't want to pay Luka $345 million. They wanted to make sure their investment would be worth it. But it was Nico who went to them and said, I want to trade Luka Doncic. And I'm saying, if that's true, he's owned it. Well, part of owning it is being quiet about it, not saying anything, and saying, wait till next year when my boys are healthy. We missed a combined 345 games due to injury. Wait till you see us next year and move on. Stop talking about this. There's no gain from it at this point. No gain.
Well, Steve.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I would talk about it only because Stephen A. Smith wants me not to talk about it. I thought, actually, if you really listen to what he said, I get it. People have their side, and they can't be moved. But I thought Harrison handled it pretty well. Why shouldn't you be fired? Well, I've done a pretty good job here. And next year, we're going to have a hell of a team. Yeah. What are you going to do? This is disturbing. And I don't really use the word disturbing. You know, a lot of people say this is disturbing on so many levels. I don't understand that. I don't understand. This is disturbing on so many levels. What levels? When people say that, I always say, what levels? Tell me the levels, because I'm a smart ass and I take things literal. But this is a bit disturbing. What are you doing, Nike? Like, seriously, what are you doing? A recent article from the New York Times indicates that Nike is funding a study on child transgender athletes. After one paragraph buried deep in the story indicates that the evidence is real. What are you doing? Buried deep in the story was a single paragraph that should raise some eyebrows. The author mentions Joanna Harper, a biological male who identifies as a woman and purportedly studies transgender athletes. Harper is currently, listen to this, helping to lead an ambitious study of trans adolescents that measures their results on a 10-step fitness test before they start hormone therapy and then after they've begun to medically transform every 6 months. What are we doing? The current climate makes the study somewhat uncertain. I assumed I was referring to the Donald Trump administration's cuts to National Institutes of Health research grants, but she said money was not a problem. The study is being funded by Nike. The problem was Trump's separate order targeting medical care for transgender youth. If we can't perform trans-affirming care, she explained, then we can't bring people into the study. What is Nike doing in this? Like, what are you doing in this? I mean, it's bad enough kids are making your shoes for pennies an hour. But son of a biscuit maker, why are you involved in this? Like when I used to go on Nike trips, they'd bring you in a room and spread all their propaganda, what to say when people ask you about being a Nike representative, i.e. a coach whose team wears Nikes. And I'd be like, all right, man, I don't care. Hell, I was making $75,000 as a head coach. They'd pay me another 20. I'll say whatever the hell you want. What do I care? I really didn't. I mean, back then, if you want to know the truth. But I look at this kind of stuff and I say, why are you involved in transgender athletes' studies? Why are you funding these type things? Just stop. Honest to God, just stop. If I were a woman, I would never buy Nike. I wouldn't. If I were a female athlete, I would never one time buy Nike. Nike's been great to me. Took me on trips, gave me gear, and then I realized what they really are, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need it anymore. And maybe my supplier, the great Aaron Lautenbach, left the company. I don't know. But if I were a female athlete, that was a serious female athlete, and I had the goods. Now, if they're paying me a ton of money, I don't give a rat's ass. I'm taking the money. But if I were a female athlete that wasn't being paid a lot of money, there's not a chance in hell I would get involved in Nike. No, there's not a chance. Like if I'm Caitlin Clark, I know she's got to do Nike and Gatorade and be Michael Jordan and blah, 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 blah. But I ain't doing it. No, I'm not doing it. I don't boycott much, but when I do, damn it, it's strong. It's tough. I'm all supportive of this. Mel Kiper to the Hall of Fame. There you go. Friend of the show, Dan Patrick. Danny P is championing the longtime NFL draft insider to be elected into the Hall of Fame for his contributions to the game. They always do that. They give you a contributor to the game. However, Kiper is doubtful that it will happen, as he's made lots of enemies within the sport. See, I always said this, enemies within the sport shouldn't matter. Now, that crap should matter. You either are or you aren't. And if you're holding a grudge against a player or a contributor or a coach or whomever, you suck. Stop the childish shit. Somebody deserves to go in the Hall of Fame, they deserve to go in the Hall of Fame. If I had to vote for Michael Jordan to go in the Hall of Fame, he owes me $6,000. I'd have said, yeah, hell yeah. Doesn't matter what he did to you. It matters what he did for the sport. And Mel Kiper's a pioneer. Mel Kiper is the number one ever in the history of the draft expert. Here's Dan Patrick talking about Mel.
But that leads me to what happened with Brent Musburger. I campaigned for him. I reached out to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Pete Rozelle Award. I'd like to do the same with you. I think you should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I appreciate that, Dan, but I just believe there's so many people that just, you're fortunate, you get a little luck on your side, you're around great people. I was, Dan, I worked with you all those years.
You changed an industry. What you have meant to the NFL, it's a different version of John Facenda. Like, he was the voice. And you were the draft guy. Like, look at what it's a cottage industry that you created. That is contributions to the game. I know you're modest. I don't care. I'm going forward with it. You deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You do.
Dan, you're a great friend. Andy Poland's been saying the same thing. I tell Andy the same thing. Andy. And he said he's going to – I said, to me, you get into this and you see so many people – that were responsible at ESPN for what's happened. So you say, I did this. ESPN really did it, Dan, because they televised this thing when the NFL didn't want it to be televised. Think about that. Think about all the great producers that were, from Bill Fitz, who offered me that position in 80.
There you go. Yeah, there you go, Mel Kiper. He's right. ESPN did help him, but he was interesting enough, smart enough, and prepared enough to make it work. You get some slap up there like we currently have now, and who's interested in Chimmy, whatever the hell she's talking about, or any of these? You get out there with Mel Kiper, and it's interesting. Kiper may not have the deep baritone of John Facenda, but his influence on the draft is undeniable. It is. It's undeniable. And as for his voice, Kiper famously has his critics. The late George Young, the general manager of the Giants, used to joke that Kiper needed a voice coach, even suggesting he lose his Baltimore accent. Kiper's response, whatever I am, I am. That is exactly. He also said, hey, Dan, talking to Dan Patrick, give that up. I got a lot of people in the league that hate me. A lot of people in the league hate me and have hated me for a long time. I do not think anything NFL-related will ever come. And that will never work hand in hand, Dan. Here's Bill Tobin, who it was the general manager, of the Colts. Here's Tobin talking about and to Kiper.
Players or that jerk in Baltimore. Well, let me tell you a little bit. I mean, the people in this room. Mel Kiper lives in Baltimore, and I found all this out about the last 3 days. He lives in Baltimore. He tried to hang around the practices up there, I think, when Teddy was a coach earlier. And this didn't come from Teddy. This came from another guy. But he always wanted to work in the NFL. He has no credentials to work in the NFL. He always just hung around. Nobody ever hired him. He's never been hired by anyone. When the Colts moved here, he was very, very upset. So every chance that Mel Kiper gets to shoot at the Colts in Indianapolis, he's going to do it. I happen to have 3 minutes to take a shot back at him. What I said there, probably 300 personnel people in the league would like to have said it. But as I walked down the hallway there, Tom Donahoe called me and said that I won the ringing endorsement of the whole Steeler organization. Thank you for saying it. That was Tom Donahoe. He reaches out to everyone. I got a sister in Burlington Junction, Missouri, that when we took William Perry back in 84 or 85, I talked to her 2 days later, and she said, why'd you take the fat kid? And I said, you just have to believe me, he was the best available. And he was the best available. But, I mean, Mel Kiper gets to your sister. He gets to your mother. He gets to everybody. I just read, somebody wrote the article about the receiver down here at Indiana. Came out 3 years ago. Was supposed to be in the 3rd or 4th round by Mel Kiper. He never was drafted, wasn't even signed as a free agent. He hurt that kid. But there's others he's hurt. Listen to him trash people. This guy can't do this guy's dumb, this guy can't do that. And unfortunately, some of the college coaches out there think that Mel Kiper is part of the National Football League inner circle, and he isn't.
There you go. And Mel Kiper survived. Bill Tobin didn't. There, it's easy. It's simple. Mel Kiper's an icon. I really like Mel Kiper. He's always come on my shows. He's always been great to talk to. He used to do his show on ESPN when he would take basically half the year off. And he eats pie every day. Who doesn't like a guy that eats pie every day? True story. He eats pumpkin pie every single day. Can the media, particularly the national media, particularly the news media, just be honest with us? And how does this Caitlin Collins have a freaking job? How does she have a job? Listen to this. A day before the Trump-Biden debate, she claimed the former president, Joe Biden, had spent days locked in incredibly intense debate preparation. That's according to her sources, but as of this month, CNN Abby Phillip recently reported something a little different. This is CNN. Let's go.
President Biden has spent days locked in intense preparation, surrounded by his closest advisors at Camp David. And our sources are telling us tonight that full mock debates are underway at the podium, under the lights. He's even watching tape to know exactly what he's going to see when he steps up to that lectern. His team shot a video during a walkthrough of the CNN studio. And as I reported while covering him at the White House, when Biden prepares, he does so incredibly intensively.
So just how worried were Biden aides before the former president's disastrous debate last summer? According to Ron Klain, his chief of staff, his concerns could not be overstated. At his first meeting with Biden for debate prep, quote, Klain was startled. He'd never seen Biden so exhausted and so out of it. Biden was unaware of what was happening in his own campaign. Halfway through the session, the president excused himself and went off to sit by the pool. Part about the pool, he went off, this is in the middle of debate prep, went off to the pool and he took a nap.
The girl on top, that little Caitlin Collins, she seems like the local reporter from your college. The lady on the bottom seems like an actual reporter. How does anybody keep their job? How does anybody trust this Caitlin Collins? How does anybody look at her with anything other than, you're a shill. You're ridiculous. You're really dumb. Lady on the bottom, I don't know who she was, but she was damn good. She seemed like a professional. Lady on the top, she looked like boom, that goes the dynamite guy from Ball State. How they keep these jobs? Hey, file this one under, I told you so, I told you so. Back when Lori Lightfoot was getting ousted as the mayor of Chicago, I told you all on this show, back when my little stage was over there, not over here, I told you, get ready for it. My folks are telling me this new guy, Brandon Johnson, is a worse mayor, a worser mayor than the legendary owl-looking Lori Lightfoot. Listen to this, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. His approval rating has fallen, reportedly, to 7%. He's facing a projected budget deficit of $1.93 million. And there are those that are speculating because I guess he gets $300 haircuts for that thing. I guess he has remodeled different places for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. It's going to be interesting to see if our government has the stones to go after him because he will throw that race card out at you like it's his job. But unfortunately, for the mayor of Chicago, his own people, his, quote, community, man, they're pissed. They were pissed when he brought in a bunch of illegals. They were taking away their benefits. They've been pissed at board meetings. They have come at him personally. And all the while, this arrogant jackass stands right up there, lies, cheats, steals, and right now will probably somehow figure out a way to get elected when the time comes. Chicago's a mess. And this guy is the symptom of that. This guy is a train wreck.